Alright, so in this video I want to talk about elbow pain and why you have elbow pain. One of the biggest problems that I ran into when it comes to elbow pain was with squatting. I would get some medial elbow pain because of the way I position my hands on the bar. Sometimes I would get elbow pain from bench pressing. Sometimes I would get elbow pain from lots of deadlifting. And you may be suffering from some sort of elbow pain due to some movement you're doing, either doing too much working out, or you might just suffer from it because it's a pre-existing injury. And in this video I'm going to cover kind of what's causing it and have you get a better understanding of kind of how the body works. Now understand, when you have elbow pain, there's lots of different reasons. And I'm going to go over step by step kind of how to understand what's going on and then of course resolve the issue. So number one, almost all these elbow pain problems come from overuse. Right here. Now why are you overusing it? A lot of it is because you're weak. Make sure you can see that there. You are weak. You're overusing it because you're weak. You might be strong on a particular lift, but you are weak in a certain range of motion or a certain function or a certain repetition scheme or at a certain weight. So stick with me here. The weakness or the pain in your elbow is caused from overuse from being weak, either by range of motion or something else. Shoulder range of motion. So that brings me to the next thing. If you don't have good shoulder range of motion, what's going to happen is your body has to translate that motion to somewhere else. And what I mean by that, if you push up above your head, for example, and you're trying to do an overhead press, and you have pretty strong triceps, let's say you can bench press almost 300 pounds, 250, 225 for lots of reps, to 8 to 10 reps. Just an example so we get an idea for benchmarking strength. If you can bench press 225 for 6 to 10 repetitions for repetition work, you should be able to overhead press 135 pretty easily, or whatever easy means. You should be able to get it over your head. And if you do a lot of rep work overhead with full lockout, you may suffer from some mild elbow pain, or maybe even some twinges. A lot of this is because of lack of range of motion in the shoulder. When you have this lack of range of motion in the shoulder, it causes overuse because you're weak, or range of motion, or you are weak in a specific range of motion. All right. So remember the way the body works. A lot of people don't have full flexion in the shoulder. They don't have full extension in the shoulder. They don't have proper internal and external rotation. Next, here's motor control. You might not have the motor control to move correctly. Your body can't externally and internally rotate the shoulder without some sort of pain or irritation. This is due to being weak. Again, you're weak because you do not have the right control in the shoulder. You don't have right control in the muscles that surround the shoulder. You don't have right control in the muscles that are close to the shoulder, like your chest and your back. It gets a little more detailed as I kind of go down this list. Now, low back and lumbar problems. Now, I had a lady come in the other day and she had some elbow problems. And it was pretty obvious to me that she was just weak. I know I'm saying everyone is weak, but when you have elbow pain, but for her, she was actually physically weak. She did not have the strength. She had really fairly good flexibility, but the problem, like she can get her hands over her head, but she did not have motor control. Like she didn't know how to suck her shoulders into her sockets, right? Like I get elbow pain, I know how to pinch my shoulder blades together, and I know how to get set up on a bench. I know how to get set up on an overhead press or push press. I know how to get tight on a squat. The problem is that she doesn't have the control in the shoulder. And immediately I taught her how to pull her shoulder blades back and keep that shoulder in the socket to create torque in the shoulder. Immediately her pain went away or reduced significantly when she was doing lat pull down. Because previously I assessed her by seeing her do a lat pull down to her chin or below her chest or below her chin right here or by the clavicle. And then she went up and she can feel her elbow a little bit. Then I told her to pull her shoulder blades in, really open up the posture, tighten the stomach, and pull down. And immediately the pain was pretty much gone or very minimal pain. And when I talk about the strength component, we talk about low lumbar and lumbar problems, is that she also had a lower back problem. Now understand that when I'm trying to teach someone a movement, one of the best ways to teach someone, in my opinion, for someone who is fairly new to exercise or weightlifting or building strength, I teach them what is called a cobra. A cobra is a simple movement where you're lying on a ball and you position yourself so you retract your shoulder blades like this. It's something that they teach in an NASM certification, and you're just doing this little shoulder blade movement. It's something that I don't do because I hate doing this stuff, but for someone to get the idea, sometimes the best thing for them to understand is to lie on the floor and pull their shoulder blades together by using their hands as weights or their arms as weights, and then being able to stabilize their shoulder blades in a good solid position. In her case, what happens when she tries to pull her shoulder blades back, since she's missing some strength in her shoulder, not having good enough external rotation strength, what she does while standing, she will position herself in such a way that if she wants to externally rotate her shoulder or internally rotate her shoulder, I'll tell her to kind of pull her shoulder blades back. One of the ways she's able to create that movement or keep this nice tall position is she will extend and break at the back. And she already has a lower back problem. So essentially, because of her lack of strength or poor motor control of the shoulder, she's trying to get torque and find stability. What's ended up happening is she is finding it somewhere else, in a different spot, in this case in her lumbar spine. So she can't do this. So for example, if I can't get a good external rotation force in the shoulder, I'm going to try to get external rotation force by moving my body back into extension in the back or hyperextension in the low back, essentially trying to make up that problem. Also, people who have wrist problems, the other issue too is that if they're lacking shoulder external and internal rotation, they have to make up the movement in the wrist, and that leads to wrist problems. So understand that the shoulder is the engine of the body, and if you don't properly use that engine and you don't take care of it, it's going to have to translate into other issues, into the elbow, into the wrist, or into the lower back, depending on the type of movement you're creating. Rotator cuff. Now, we've always been taught that if you have a shoulder problem, you should do external rotation exercises. And this can help, and it's proven for itself to be helpful. But however, rotator cuff exercises I found personally with working with clients, it's only been useful if they actually have a problem in the rotator cuff, like they have a tear or a significant amount of impingement. So if they have a significant amount of impingement in the shoulder, or they have some issues from maybe a minor tear in their rotator cuff muscle, internal, external rotation are definitely going to help improve their shoulder strength. However, that's not the reason why their elbow hurts. The reason why their elbow hurts is because they don't have control. First, you teach control. Once they learn control and they build some general strength, then you can start taking them through rotator cuff movements, or you can take yourself through rotator cuff movements. Next piece is upper back cramping traps. When I was teaching her Cobra on the ball, and her stomach was on the ball, and she was pulling her shoulder blades back, trying to activate her back muscles, what happened was her upper back muscles started to cramp. Her traps began to get tight. All the stuff in the thoracic, lumbar, upper back section here start to cramp up, and they get really stiff, and it's almost like they cramp, they almost catch. And the reason why is, anecdotally, this is my experience, is if you don't use the muscle very much, it will cramp very hard when you start to work it. This is not for everybody, but for someone who is not used to, for someone who tends to be in this kind of position where they're rounded forward all the time, or they do a lot of movements like too much bench press, too much overhead press, and not enough back exercises or enough motor control in the back, what ends up happening is when you light these muscles up, what's going to end up happening is those muscles are going to freaking go, what the heck are you doing? And then they're going to cramp up. So things to understand is that when you're trying to solve your elbow problem, you have to look in other places. And most of the cases, the reason why your elbow hurts is due to a dysfunction in the shoulder. And looking and considering that movement. Once you fix the shoulder, you will minimize the issue in the elbow. There are other things you can do to kind of minimize problems in the elbow, like you can use a voodoo floss band. You can do, I'll link a video in the description for how to use a voodoo floss band. You can foam roll, you can do a lot of things, but that doesn't solve the underlying issue that's creating the problem. So hope this video has helped you get a better idea of kind of why your elbow hurts. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you're not a subscriber, click subscribe, and thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please click like and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. Alright, so chances are if you're watching this video, it's probably because you're suffering from some sort of elbow pain. And so I have some links here that I want you to take a look at to kind of solve the problem. This video kind of went a little longer than I thought it would, and I wanted to go over some solutions, but I kind of didn't have time. It was already almost 10 minutes long. But I hope that you got an idea of kind of how to approach it and kind of view the human body. This is a lot of stuff that I've learned that has kind of helped clients, and it's also helped myself quite a bit with trying to fix problems. And if you have a repetitive issue where your elbow hurts a lot, there's a good chance that you are definitely overusing the elbow due to a lack of motor pattern problems in the shoulder or in the wrist, or you have a pre-existing injury. So there's a lot of different things to consider. Remember, there's like no one band-aid fix. You know, I'm no doctor. I'm a personal trainer with a lot of education and experience. And there are people out there that can help you specifically, like a physical therapist. You know, I've saw Kelly Starrett, and he helped me with my problems, and I've seen And I've watched a lot of his videos, so if you want to solve your problem and it keeps bothering you, you're going to have to dig deeper. And if you're anything like me, meaning that you love to lift weights and you love to get strong and you love to push yourself, chances are your primary care physician doesn't give a shit how much you can bench. All they care about is that you function normally as a human being. But if you care about your performance, you're going to have to find your own solution, and that's just kind of my experience, unless you have the resources and the money to find someone to kind of do the stuff for you. So, I mean, you just got to find your own thing. If you have any questions, I hope this video helped you. Take a look at my other videos, and thanks for watching.